here comes the royal procession, that magical, glistening moment that signals the start of a day here at Royal Ascot, and day 5, ending a week, Bruff, just before we see them. I think a lot of people thought this year, a lot of people worried actually, that Royal Ascot might be a little bit low-key, the first royal meeting without the late Her Majesty the Queen. However, the truth is, really, it's been anything but. Since Wednesday, I really think the crowd have roared their approval for the King and Queen, who we'll see in just a second. Their winner obviously helped. And we on ITV, we've had over 1 million people each day watching. Yesterday had the highest share on day 4 for over a decade. It's been pretty good, isn't it?
It is, and rather like in the rest of wider British life, I think people are realising that the King is a serious man. And the one thing about him, I do know, is that if he takes on something, he likes to do it properly. So he wants to do this properly, and that's what's happened.
And that's the noise to greet the first carriage, Charlotte. Who have we got today?
It is the King, the Queen, the Earl of Culloden and the Countess of Culloden, and we are standing here surrounded by some people who were extremely excited by the fact that the King was here today. So there was a lot of cheers when they just saw that first glimpse. The Earl of Culloden we saw in the procession yesterday, he had a promotion today to the first carriage, Lord Lieutenant of County Armagh in Northern Ireland, so representative of the King there, and he was one of the peers carrying the royal standard at the coronation.
And Francesca, how good do you think for Ascot and the sport that the King and Queen have supported the royal meeting on every one of the 5 days?
We were talking about it a lot in the lead-up, weren't we? We were thinking, okay, will they come? Okay, great. They're going to come one day. Okay, they're going to come another day. And then the fact that they've come all 5 days shows such a level of commitment and support. And we noticed yesterday there was a definite increase in their demeanour of like enjoyment and excitement after having had the royal winner. And it's really hard to explain, but racing does that to you. There's nothing quite like cheering your own horse home in a race, especially when it was so tight at the finish as it was with their winner.
And that's been backed up. I was speaking to Fliss, who works here, is an important member of the team at Ascot, and she basically said the King's demeanour is reflected all around the racecourse. Everyone seems more relaxed, enjoying themselves, and I think they've sold more tickets off the back of that. There are 68,500 people here today because everyone has wanted to be part of it, Charlotte.
Yeah, it's absolutely wonderful, isn't it? And I think that you see the excitement of all generations, which is really important for the sport because you want it to encourage the younger generation to come through as well. And I think the King and Queen being here every day, the King getting his first win here as monarch, these have all been special moments.
Yeah, because a lot of us racing folk are guilty of thinking everybody's coming here just to see the horses, when actually the real niche of Royal Ascot is the fact that it is a royal event and it has this unique procession.
It's carriage 2.
And in the second carriage we have Lord Frederick Windsor, Lady Frederick Windsor, Princess Sarah Aga Khan and Lady Wetherby. Now Lord Frederick Windsor is second cousin of King Charles. He's Prince and Princess Michael of Kent's son. He is 53rd in line to the throne, and his wife, Lady Frederick Windsor, is the actress Sophie Winkleman, half-sister of Claudia Winkleman. You might know her from the Peep Show, Agatha Christie's Poirot, 2.5 Men, among many others. And the couple moved to California a few years ago for her acting career, but they came back.
And now you get an idea of the size of the crowd. Get our first glimpse of the Windsor enclosure, where you were the other day, Charlotte, with the Club 26 youngsters. Lots of them paid just a tenner to get into the Windsor enclosure. Then it's the Queen Anne nearest us. Then it's the Royal enclosure. The other side of the racecourse is the Heath enclosure and the village. And there is one of my oldest mates from years ago, Annalisa Balding. The Baldings in carriage 3.
They are, with Lady Gabriella Kingston, Mr. Thomas Kingston, Mr. and Mrs. Andrew Balding in there as well. And Lady Gabriella Kingston, second cousin of the King, daughter of Prince and Princess Michael of Kent, so Lord Frederick Windsor's sister. She is a writer and married to Thomas Kingston, and their wedding took place at St George's Chapel in Windsor, attended by the late Queen and Prince Philip. And we know, of course, Andrew Balding, a successful trainer, won the 2,000 guineas earlier this year with Chaldine Frankie on board, and he trains King's Lynn for the King in the Wokingham Stakes at 5 p.m. today.
Now the crowd might get a glimpse of who's in carriage 4. Did you get it right? This must be a first. The current jockey before he rides at Royal Ascot. Old jockeys have been in before, but a current jockey is in carriage 4 with a big grin on his face.
What an absolute honour. We have the king of Ascot, I think we have to call him, don't we? Frankie is here in carriage 4. We've got Mr. Franco Dettori, Mrs. Franco Dettori, Mr. Jamie Snowden and Mrs. Jamie Snowden. And there are some people who are then suddenly finding out what Frankie Dettori's real first name is. We all know him by Frankie, of course. He's going out on a high, isn't he? Winning his farewell Gold Cup, 81 Royal Ascot winners, and arriving in style. This must be a special moment for him, arriving in the royal procession. And he's talked about his wife Catherine as one of the 2 angels in his life, the other being his father, Gianfranco, as well.
Absolutely huge influence on him.
Clearly the kiss the other day that he stole off Queen Camilla didn't go down too badly. He was still allowed to be part of the royal procession.
It's a nice touch, isn't it?
And the fact that he's riding today on his last day, riding at the royal meeting, it's a really nice touch. I can guarantee he's never arrived like this for a day at the races.
And he was shouting 80 yesterday, Bruff. Went on to ride 81. But as you reminded me as we looked at a graphic of leading jockeys, he's a long way off one jockey who got... How many did Leicester get here?
Leicester got 116, but the fair point about him is, it wasn't a 5-day meeting, it was a 4-day meeting.
Much less races. It wasn't 7 a day either.
I was talking about someone today. Leicester was more dominant in his era than Frankie is, but Frankie is the most artistic and the most balanced jockey. I mean, he is unique. It's a very overused word, but Frankie is unique. We've never seen anyone like him before, and we'll never see anyone like him again.